I would bet money that Nvidia is likely to bounce off of this pivot here and start pushing higher. All right, guys, here we go again. Ron here. Just wanted to do a quick recap of today's morning brief. 16 October. This is our watches for today. I only had two. I did review our earnings picks for the day. Wasn't really too impressed with any of them because they don't really move too much on any given day. I wasn't expecting much from any of them. So I stuck with some familiar ones, just Nvidia and Shopify. Here are the notes from this morning, and here are our targets. Just wanted to go ahead and show you, and I wanted to know how you would trade. Please leave a comment below and let me know how you would have traded with the information provided here. Let's go ahead and take a look at that clip. All right, so looking at Shopify. Boom, hit that rest stop yesterday. Paused there for quite some time, Came back, and then 1,400 hours, it broke through, closed above it. Now it's back below it. So this is actually pretty cool because look at where that pivot gets drawn today. Awesome. It's like, this is cool. Because now, this is your confirmation. This is your break high right here. Okay? Well, at least this is my break high for Shopify. Shopify wants to break above this. I have no doubt that this thing is going to start heading higher. So taking a look here. Again, this is where we are. We're right beneath this level here. This is the daily chart. This pattern on the daily looks actually pretty good for a reversal. So obviously it's gapping down right now below here. So it is going to be pretty clear on what is going to want to do today once it does it. So once it opens, Shopify is either going to break back above this and continue higher, or is going to fulfill its promise on this black candle. This is what a black candle would look like. It's a black candle. If you look it up on stock charts, I'll put it up on the chat room right now. So C4 shop. Yep, black candle. Oh, perfect. Look at that. And it's at the 50 MA on the daily. Speaking of which, where are all my indicators? Those study sets. All right, there we go. Oh, perfect. Look at that. So looking at shop, perfect. Look at this pattern that it formed. Black candle, nice little reversal, little doji kind of pattern over here, right at the 50 MA. So I'm like, oh, cool. Now what are we getting? We're also getting a gap down at a key level. So it's like, oh, cool, man. Look at where this thing is at. So you have double confirmation of this reversal right now. So now also failure of the reversal is going to be indicated by a break above this rest stop area here that I drew for myself. So it's like, okay, cool. So what do I have supporting the downside? I have the pattern set on the daily, the gap down, and the fact that it's below this key level here that we have already drawn for ourselves. So perfect. So it's right below that pivot. So it tells us, hey, if it fails to break above that pivot on the open, or fails to break that box higher basically, then it's likely going to start heading lower. As you can see, I don't really have any levels in between here. Let me see if we want to add any. I'd probably add this yesterday's pivot. Let me expand. So let me get the lines from yesterday. Let's expand this one. So on Shopify, I'd be looking for, there we go. Oh, it's already starting to push lower. And again, Shopify likes to do that, guys. So if it starts to push lower, just adjust your box accordingly. I'd still use this as my break high, depending on the volume, obviously, and everything. But, I would want it to break this. This is yesterday's low. This is the pivot. I mean, look at this. This little area right here is where you want to break higher, personally. But obviously, you adjust accordingly. So if you see a bounce off of, let's say, this 30-minute, 10-minute, 200 EMA, and it's having trouble there, which will probably line up with this pivot here, then you consider, whether you want to rebox it in here to the downside and or reversal. Just pay attention to what's going on. If I see a play, I'll definitely try to record everything here myself so you guys can see. But definitely Shopify, you can see here, I would say on the break low, let's say the pre-market low, this will be my L1 confirmation. Then I'm following the moves, the lines down. I'm definitely looking for hesitation or issues at these EMAs and MAs. And then I'm definitely looking at this previous days high, which is over here. Yep. Previous days high, as you can see there. So that's going to be my L2. So break L1, L2, L3, 334. We're looking for a $12 move. That's what it likes to do on average. Shopify, let's double check if it's still at 12. So yeah, 1154. So I'm looking for an 11 to $12 move on Shopify. And again, take into consideration where you entered. So $12 move from where it opened. So keep that in mind. So if you got in and it's already $2 or $3 down, keep that in mind as far as, hey, what your final target is going to be. So if Shopify opens around here, 340, 341, this is going to be my box. If it opens below this line here, then I may use this as the box high. Probably not, but it depends. You know, you guys got to kind of adjust depending on where it is. Should we be mindful of the gap? Would it fill the gap first? Let's see. Let's go down and see. 1 day, 1 minute. Yep, look at that. No candle gap. So these are just ticks. So as you can see here. So yes, that's a good point. That's a good question. I'm glad you asked. So keep that in mind. But again, if it does, now you have that play as well, guys. So if it does try to close that gap right away, this is still a key area for me right here. But you can definitely expect it. Shopify does like to close the gaps. Mostly, I like the gap closest to from up to down more than I like the down to up. But yes, you can definitely expect that. And again, the markets are pushing higher. Shopify's correlation came up. It is coming up. Look at that. It's 0.9 from when it was very uncorrelated with the markets. So I would not be surprised if it did do that. Okay. But again, when I'm playing, let's say I want to play Shopify long today, because let's say I think this thing is gonna go higher because whatever. I definitely either wanted to break a specific key level, and or I wanted to bounce off a key level. So to the downside, the plan is right now, as of where it is right now, I would say break low, L1, L1. L2, which is the previous day's high, L3, L4, and then take into consideration your $11 to $12 move. Okay, so 40 to 31, you're looking at about $10 right there. So anywhere between these lines here. To the upside, again, break high, L1, L2, yesterday's close again, and then I would underline this area here. Keep definitely a close eye. Look at how that lines up with the pivot. Boom, L2. If it does manage to break that area, look at how these lines all line up here. Yesterday's close, pivot, weak area that we've already drawn in from quite a while. Boom. Once it breaks this level, no reason why it won't break higher, okay? Yesterday's high, followed by this area here. I'll have this little range here, basically a little rectangle. I just didn't want to draw a rectangle. So I have this little rest area here. Look at how that lined up with that pivot. And this is probably going to be, I drew these and they're so close to each other because I saw multiple things. One, this is where candles like to close, and this one is where candles like to peak, meaning where the wicks were. So let's say you would have a candle, let's say on the 10 or 30 minute, it closed here, but the wick went up as high as here. So again, consideration 40 to 52, you have 10 to $11 move right there. So this would be my last target for the day for Shopify as far as I'm concerned. Okay, so any questions on Shopify? NVIDIA 0.93 correlation with the markets, 200% on volume yesterday. Shopify only has 73. Let's see, NVIDIA, look at this beautiful push higher. So we are at new highs. Let's see, nope, not new highs. All right, so broke above this Darvis and now it's pushing higher. 0.93, I don't see any reason for it to actually come lower right now. As far as the daily is concerned, this looks like a solid candle. And it looks like a continuation candle. Nothing indicates to me a reversal. Looking at the weekly, oh man, this is awesome. Look at that, double break on Darvis box. So I like this because we have double break, boom, range bound, boom, came back and managed to break above it. So now the weekly is looking pretty solid for a continued move higher as well. So I see no reason, we're above all the EMAs. I see no reason for any reversals as far as NVIDIA is concerned. See, we don't even have lines anymore. So now we would have to just adjust accordingly to the upside. So the downside is covered because we already have our lines to the downside. Now it's a matter of going ahead and preparing for the move higher. So for the downside move, let's go ahead and take a look real quick. Shopify is at the pivot. Pretty easy. So the pivot is there. If it breaks the pivot, breaks the pre-market low, boom. L1 is going to be this area here, followed by L2, L3, right here, previous day's low, and so on and so on and so on, guys, okay? Again, it moves about $5 per day. So if it manages to open here, 195 to 192, 190, I'd say my last target for it today would be 190.78. At most, yesterday's low. And that is dependent on the volume overall, okay? Unless we have like a massive volume coming in, I wouldn't really expect it to come much lower than this. Yesterday, it went from a low of 189 to 199, so it did do a $10 move. Decent amount of volume came in yesterday. So, you know, you could get that, but I wouldn't bet on Shopify pretty much engulfing this entire candle today unless the markets, the VIX, and everything just starts to reverse. So the downside is pretty clear. I would bet more. I would bet money that NVIDIA is likely to bounce off of this pivot here and start pushing higher. So I would say break high off of this. Honestly, I wouldn't even go as far as to say up here. I would say if it does open here and it fails to break, you see it hesitating on the 1, 2 minute, 5 minute, whatever, I would say take it off of the lows here so that if it does break lower, you take a smaller loss. And then, you know, this would be your L1. Yesterday's close. I mean, H1. H2, 199, is going to be yesterday's high. So right there, you have your $5 move. Okay, so underline that, and then followed by 204. So once it breaks this level, I have no reason to stop in between. I would just say from recent history, that is, guys, I'm not going to go that far back in days, as far as the days are concerned, to start adding midway points, basically. You know what I mean? Like this is October 2. This is like pretty far back, okay? So I'm not going to go that far back to say, hey, it has resistance there. Once you see it pausing, maybe you can start doing that. But for me right now, I would say from here, I would go to the next pivot, and that's it. So those are my targets for those two. Those are the main two I'm going to be watching today. All right. So here we go. These are the results for the day. NVIDIA definitely did as expected. Pretty much hesitating here. I was willing to bet money that this thing was going to bounce off of this pivot here. Like I said, hesitation to actually break this level with confidence, meaning that the second 1 minute candle, for example, is not going lower. The third 1 minute candle is not going lower. This shows signs that it's not going to be strong enough to push lower. Like I said on the daily, it was not a reversal candle. It was more of a continuation candle, and the move was likely to continue today. So it definitely broke through our initial entry place location, which is this pivot. Once you got that confirmation on the second and third levels, it reached our fourth target, or our third target, I'm sorry, first and second levels. It reached our third target, missed it just by 7 cents, guys, give or take. You know what I mean? I put 199.29. It hit 199.22. Give me a break. Take your profits when you see your money is there. Even if you got out anywhere around here, obviously this is a $4 move, almost $5 moves right there. So pretty much hit the target that we were expecting from 194 low all the way to 199.22. I mean, you got to use some common sense here and take your profits where your profits are there for you, okay? So let's go to Shopify. And Shopify did the exact opposite, which was the move lower. So like I said, this was a key area for me right here. We needed to see it break this area right here, this range, which is basically this line that we've drawn from quite some time, the pivot, followed by yesterday's low. I mean, this area here was pivotal for it to break this level here. As you can see, it hesitated for quite a bit before it decided which way it was going to go. But once it broke one of the levels with confidence, so as you can see here, it broke, boom, opened below it. Had it done that up here, then we should have broke out nicely up to the upside, but it didn't. And being that you had a nice little reversal pattern on the daily, black candle to match, 50 MA to match. I mean, you had 3 signals to the downside, and that's what you got. So again, Shopify hit for our targets to the downside It hits definitely, and they were a lot larger. So 337 was the first stop for it, 337.30, followed by 334.62, which is right here. And that's all she wrote. You know, it attempted to move lower, but when you see it hesitating at these levels like this, it's a good sign for you to take a time stop and just get out. I mean, there's really nothing to think about. Don't think about it too much. If you go up to larger time frames, you start to see that it's having trouble closing below this level on larger time frames. That's a sign for you to say, you know what? It's time to get out. Look at the 10-minute. See, it pushes below it, but it fails to close below it. That's a sign for you. Hey, man, take your profits. Again, if you manage to get in where you were supposed to get in, guys, boom. This is still 340 to 334. That's a $6 move for you to make money on. So if you couldn't make money on that move, I don't know where you're going to make money, guys. I don't know what to tell you. But that's pretty much it for today, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. Again, if you want to be a part of the group, go ahead and click the links below. Take the course, subscribe, and get access to our webinars and daily call sessions every single day, guys.
More money! Yes! All very exciting.